Okay. All righty. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the April episode of Meaningful Conversations. Meaningful Conversations is a monthly forum sponsored by Living Healthy List, where we come together to discuss topics that are relevant to our health, our wellness, our personal growth, and of course, bringing more fun into life, because it's great if we've got all those other things going on. But if we're not having any fun doing it, we've got to definitely focus on that and fix that, don't we? So today we are covering a topic that is interesting. I always like to make a little spin on things. So it is about spring cleaning and how out with the old can give you a fresh start when it comes to achieving your personal, professional, or physical goals. So this is meant to be a conversation, a discussion. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. Would love to have our speakers, our panelists, but our audience too, to participate. Because your insights, we can really learn from your insights and experiences of other people. So this really is it's a safe place where we can come and have a conversation that is meaningful and that we can take into our daily life and really make those small changes so we can reach those goals. So our panels, I always love having a panel because everybody brings a unique approach or a unique perspective that can guide us towards sometimes setting and reaching those goals. Because sometimes we have this big, hairy goal out there. We haven't really thought about what it is and what steps that we need to take to get there. So I love to believe that these chats can change your life. So again, please make sure you do join in on the discussion. When you have a question, just make sure you can physically raise your hand, or you can use the icons down at the bottom on Zoom. So let's see. So our panelists, and I will tell you the names of our panelists, and I always like to have them tell you who they are rather than me reading their bio, because that's kind of dry and boring, isn't it? So our panelists today are Janice Hoult, I think I said that wrong, Dianne McClay, and Suzanne Taylor King, STK, as many of us know her by. So I would love for our panelists to take a moment to introduce themselves, tell us, who you are, what you do, where you're coming from, and then we'll go from there. And Janice, I'd like to start with you.
Yeah, sure. Start with the newbie. This is my first time on the panel. Nice to see everybody. My name is Janice Hoult. You did say it right. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and life coach, and I help women release the weight for good by balancing their hormones, ending emotional overeating, and raising their energetic vibration. So I really marry the science of nutrition with mindset, with energy. I call it like a total mind, body, spirit alignment. And I find that it just makes it so natural and easy and flow, as opposed to the diet culture that we are so used to and that I grew up in, and that had me stuck in my own weight struggle for over 30 plus years. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and I'm currently living in Colombia, South America, with my 3 kids and hubby and our 3 doggies. So that is a little bit about me.
That's awesome. Well, welcome to Meaningful Conversations, and welcome to our community. Let's see, Dianne, I'm going to call on you because I want to hear about where Dianne is nowadays.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Dianne McClay. I'm coming live from Denver, Colorado. I've been here for a month, so this topic is super timely. I wish I had all of you in my life like 20 years ago, because man, did I move a lot of shit. Just saying. And I purged a lot before I moved. But what do I do? I've taken a little bit of a break from my coaching practice, empowering women to make choices and navigate their life by choice. Really kind of what I do is I help women be the hero of their own journey. I help them discover that things don't have to be as complicated as they need to be and as we often make them. And that really my motto is that sometimes one choice in our life its only purpose is to give us information about the very next choice. So I think it's going to be very apropos to how do we purge not just our house, but our body, our soul? How do we spring clean up here? And how do we spring clean in our hearts as well, not just the stuff that we accumulate? But in the long run, like, it's a journey, right? And we all get to choose which path we take. And if you feel a little lost, a little stuck, unsure of yourself, basically you can call on me because I'm like your guide. I used to be a park ranger, so living in the outdoors and walking a trail and looking at a map and trying to understand that I'm at point A and I want to get to point B, but I don't quite know how to get there. My goal in life is to help every person I run into get that path to clarity a little bit better by choice and empowering themselves with what they have inside.
And you're so good at it, Dianne. If you're ever going to get lost in the woods or hiking somewhere, you want Dianne with you. So, Miss Suzanne Taylor King.
Hello, everyone. Dianne is like the only person that I would even consider camping with. So let's just put that out there. That, like, it's not happening, but with her, it might happen. Hello, everyone. Excited for this conversation today. I'm Suzanne Taylor King, and I am basically a business strategist, but one of my specialties is bringing people together in community. So most recently, I've undertaken a really big move from social media to an off social media community. Super intentional. And what was involved in that process for me was a lot of spring cleaning of people. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Food spring cleaning is important, closet spring cleaning important, office spring cleaning, even your desktop spring cleaning. But when it came time for me to really up-level my coaching practice and be able to help more people do the same, it was about the spring cleaning of people and getting really clear on what that looked like for my business so I can help others do the same.
This is exciting. With spring here, like I said earlier, we each have a little bit of a different perspective on this topic. And so I think we're going to have some great conversation. Dianne, you want to say something?
I just want to say that I think that's really brilliant that you bring up the spring cleaning of people, because moving does that automatically. It's amazing how many people just in the last month have, when I was leaving, they're sad. They want to spend time with me. They want me to feed into them. And it's really interesting because the physical move, obviously distance wise, what I know to be true is my really true friends and the people who are in my community who will support me are going to move with me, and they're not going to demand extra things on my time as I'm under a lot of pressure and I'm trying to meet my own deadlines. It was really fascinating to kind of go through my list of friends. And I'll just say, I might lead into what you're going to talk about, but what I realized is I really have friends back in Washington and Oregon, but I also had a lot of acquaintances that took on the appearance of friends. And emotionally shedding a connection to those people who are not serving me. I really actually, you and I must have been in sync, Suzanne, because, people said, oh, you're going to miss all your friends. And my wife and I said, really? Are we? Right. And there's really like kind of this lightness about my soul right now, because I have emotionally let go of people that I didn't realize were not contributing to the relationship, they were just taking. So I want to say that you're brilliant. I'm sorry that I haven't been in your world in the last couple of months.
Oh, you're still in my world. Like, it's I feel like you moved closer to me. So I'm so excited.
I did it on purpose so that we could go camping. But my point is just that it's so brilliant that that's a very heavy emotional toll, I think, on women, especially when we build relationships, and to really have the courage to make conscious, deliberate, intentional choices about who we keep and who we let go, or maybe who we set aside or let them drift off on their own. I think it's really brilliant take on the spring cleaning.
I like that.
And I think the thing for me, since I work with entrepreneurs, I looked at it as, I was great at collecting people, in a social media sense, great at getting followers, great at getting people on my list, but it didn't mean that they were ever going to turn into clients. And so there was just like scrubbing your email list, right? Scrubbing your email list can feel like, I'm going to go from 4,000 to 2,000, but you're going to have 2,000 with an 80% open rate. So which feels better to you? Some people just want to email 4,000 people and only have 16% open it. Well, good. I'd rather email 2,000 people and have 60% open it. So that's kind of how I looked at, being more intentional with my community. I knew it was going to get smaller, but smaller to me meant tighter, closer knit, more capable of access to me, which means greater abundance as far as clients go.
Absolutely.
And the right people right people that are going to be on your list or in your life. And I loved when Dianne said, it lightened up my soul. Like, isn't that the feeling that we want to feel when we just spring clean anything, when we're spring cleaning our house, when we're spring cleaning our people in our lives, when we're, looking at making any kind of change or fix? Like, ultimately it comes down to, how do you want to feel? If it's lightening up your soul, like, that was just like, I wrote it down, like, that is the phrase for the day. And the intention that we want to create when it comes to whatever it is, a business, being healthier, making a move, it's like, why are you doing it? How does that feel for you? And does that feel aligned and intentional? And even building it back up, like Dianne, you're saying, now you have this new location, you can intentionally now choose what you want in your life, those people, those friends, those colleagues, whoever, intentionally, that are going to now serve this new goal that you have for yourself.
And stuff, right? I mean, I purged a lot of stuff, kid you not, like 15 trips to Goodwill. And that makes me feel a little bit embarrassed, like that I've accumulated that much stuff, and embarrassed in the sense that, like, it's such a contrast to other people in the world who don't have anything, right? But it wasn't like I was out to mess anybody else's life up. It just happened. But I literally had a filing cabinet of stuff. And as I was going through it, I allowed myself a little bit of time to sit with some of those things. Some were memories, some were functional. Some was a piece of humor, like literally a piece of investing information from my dad, dated 1987, right? But I guess my point with that is that I'm not a shopper. I'm not a buyer. I'm not a go-getter just because something happens. And there's nothing wrong with people who that's their sport or their therapy or their good thing. But it's like, I just didn't realize how much stuff was actually accumulating in a house. And let me tell you, if you want to get a fire lit underneath your feet about purging anything, just go buy a house somewhere else. It'll happen, right? But deliberate, intentional, I deliberately sat with some of those things, and I allowed myself a little bit of time to reflect on how those things or those pieces of information or photographs have served me. And then I literally, here's my first tip. I had 3 piles. Throw it away. I don't know what to do with it. And I definitely need to keep it. And it's crazy how quickly the throw it away pile got big, or the recycling pile, and how I went from a 3 cubic foot box of pictures to a little small, probably 6-inch Tupperware container of pictures I can't replace, kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. It's always interesting. I think as women, the accumulating, not so much, I mean, obviously stuff, that's one thing, but of people, like our friends and acquaintances, people who, when you look at your, Facebook feed, like, how many friends do you have? And then it's always telling when, you kind of go on there and see who actually is paying attention. Like, who, when it comes to in my view of spring cleaning, kind of, again, still on the topic of, people, I kind of looked through that and realized that, I have all these friends. Well, but you know what? The people that I want in my world, they know what's going on in my world. My close friends and my family. And I kind of, and this is something that I kind of challenge everyone, is to really look at look at those people that you have, who you're responding to, who you're, helping for, because they ask. All of those things that we do because we think we need to, because we're trying to be nice, that takes up so much more of our time. And I think for me, the spring cleaning piece for me is really to open up some time, to free up some time to do some of the things that I just haven't, I hate to say had the time. I mean, everybody has 24 hours a day, but really haven't had the time to really focus on, because I'm focused on all these other things, and would like some insight from the three of you. And ladies, our guests, if you have a question or a comment, please let me know, raise your hand. We'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, so just to piggyback on what you were just saying, before this call, I pulled like an oracle card. And what it said was, I'm putting too much faith in the reflection that others have of me. So when we're looking at all the people in our life, it's not just like we're taking them in and we're trying to serve them, but we're also letting their perceptions of us change who maybe we intentionally want to be, or who we know that we are. We're letting their opinion of that skew who we are. So we're just taking it in from lots of different places. We're taking in their energy, we're taking in their perception of us and the way that they're reflecting themselves onto us. And all of that is cluttering up not only our energy, but our mind and our brain space in terms of who are we? How do we want to show up? Or am I showing up for this person to be people pleasing, or because they have this view of who I am? So now with them, I have to be super professional. And with this person, I have to be super fun. And with this person, I have to be a completely different way. And so when you do have that opportunity to clear it all out, really getting intentional of who those people are and why, right? Are they supporting you in who you want to be and where you want to go, or who you authentically are? Or are they draining you and bringing you down and kind of keeping you stuck in some place you don't want to be?
That's so true. I remember when I was in the corporate world, I had that exact feeling. Like when I went to work, I was somebody other than me. Like I checked my personality at the door. And that was really hard, because we were told this is how you acted at work in the business. And it was really stuffy and stifling. And I remember somebody said to me one time that they thought that I was unapproachable. Now, you guys who know me, unapproachable. But when I think about that now, and I was really insulted by that, when I look back and I think of who I was or how I was acting there, I could see it, because I was trying to be very professional and stiff and, not the person who I am at all outside. And so I'm really glad that obviously I have found a way to be able to be myself on a regular basis. I'm going to open the question to Jean has her hand up, so I want to have you hop in here, Jean, please.
Thanks. I just love the way you both are stating that, because for me and my profession, I really struggled with that, because as a financial advisor, I have to, I think of the suits and the marble desks and all, in that the stuffiness that comes along with it. And when I was first starting in this career, I had to really take a look at myself, and because I want somebody to see me on the street the same way that they're going to see me, whether it's a Sunday afternoon or it's a Monday during business hours, because it's me, it's real. And I had to really decide, how do I want my business to be? And how do I want to be in my business? Because they're two separate things that are really the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so I just had to really take a look at what are my expectations, and is it okay if I don't conform with a normal piece? And I'm like, I'm not good at conforming to begin with, so let's use this. Mm-hmm. But it is important to be your true self, because people can see through that. When you're sitting in front of somebody that's portraying what they think they should be versus who they really are, it's really obvious. And you're expecting people to be honest and true with you, but you're not walking the walk yourself.
Mm-hmm. And when you're doing that, for me, I had that exact same experience with work. And I found that because I was putting on this front of, say, being super professional, but secretly not believing that I'm smart enough. I'm putting up like this wall and this fence. And not only am I not being my true self, but I'm really hiding the things that maybe I'm insecure about, or maybe I feel like I need to work on, and it's coming across in a completely unapproachable way or inauthentic way, because I'm trying to not even just not be myself, but be somebody that I'm not. Right. And addressing those concerns and bringing down that fence instead of building it up, which is what I found I was doing too, until it became too much and I had to leave the whole corporate world.
Well, and I think it's interesting. I think, Janice, I'd love for you to tell everybody kind of what, kind of where you were at the time, because this really kind of, Janice's story really does touch on, who you are as a person. So please, share with us like where you were at the time.
So I spent 15 years as a marketer and advertiser for the world's largest food manufacturers: Coca-Cola, Frito-Lay, Pepsi, Kraft, Heinz. So I would work with all of these clients to help promote the overconsumption of these foods. And when I started, I was young, fresh out of college, and it was great. And I loved marketing and advertising. But as I went through my own health journey, I started realizing that what I was doing for work was no longer aligned with who I was as a person. So there was the whole initially, like, am I professional enough? Am I smart enough? Can I really do this? That kind of mask that I was wearing, and all the fences I was putting up and trying to overcompensate for that. But then once I realized that what I was doing, I just didn't feel like it was even aligned or ethical for me to do that anymore. And so I had this whole nother layer of masks and hiding that I had to do, until eventually, like, I think, the universe gives you signs. And so for me, it was like at this point where I just could no longer do it, because it was just so crossed a line for me. That lit a fire under my butt to kind of clear out that thing that was no longer serving me, which was my corporate career. And I'd already become a holistic nutritionist sort of like in the background, but sort of shoved me to finally resign that old life and create this new one intentionally. And so I've been doing this for 7 years. And even in that, as an entrepreneur, going from having a corporate employee type of role, like so many learnings and layers, but from that perspective of now I can be authentic, now I can create it on purpose, course correct if I feel like it's not in alignment for me anymore. So it's been a really amazing journey, and yeah, a lot of cleaning out, a lot of maybe even building up incorrectly and having to like re-clean it out and start again from maybe a bit of a higher perspective, but still, you gotta rebuild if what you're building is no longer in alignment.
Right. And you know what, every year we have spring every year. So, it's kind of like, it's the rebirth, it's the refresh. It's kind of, to me, it's that time where, this is for me, this is definitely the time where I go, okay, this is kind of for me, the beginning of my new year. So we're away in February. My husband's schedule is crazy. So we end up, the end of February is kind of like our end of year. So for me, it really is the perfect timing, because, March and April is really, it's, well, sort of spring, but spring is starting, things are starting to melt, things are starting to kind of feel fresh again. And so for me, it's a great time to sit down and go, okay, what do I want, one, in my life? Who do I want in my life? What do I want to get rid of? Because I'm having one thing is, what do I want? But also, what do I want to get rid of? And I think that's an important piece. We each one of you, of the speakers, panelists, has mentioned the word purge in one, in the conversation. And so I think that's really an important piece of that spring cleaning. Would love for any of you, either there's three of you, to continue the conversation. When it comes to working with your clients, how does this concept of spring cleaning kind of come in when it comes to them?
Well, I would love to say what's required in order to do what we're talking about. So to take a step back and say, last spring, I was up to here with, people and things to do, and my calendar was just constantly not overwhelming, but I didn't have time for me. I didn't have time to do the things I loved or to be with the people that I loved because I did a great job with my marketing. Okay, well, I needed to solve those problems and I needed to do it differently than I had ever done it before. And the things that were required, and this comes up for my clients all the time, is a willingness to really look at yourself and say, hi, I'm the problem. It's me, and fix it. And that requires courage to look at yourself in the mirror and say, dude, what are you doing? You've gained weight. You're not exercising. You're not taking care of yourself, all for a fully booked calendar that you're not in control of. Time to clean house. And that required not only looking at myself, being willing to look at yourself. And if I'm not willing to do it, I can't ask my clients to do it. That's just the way I'm made. And then being brave enough to take the action that your intuition and your gut is telling you to do. And whether that's eliminating sugar or alcohol or a fully booked calendar with people who aren't even your ideal clients, then it's all the same bravery that's required. It requires a bold move to be brave enough to block out every day until 10 a.m. so you can do the morning routine that you want to have. And I think it's a level of confidence that you have when you really look at yourself and you say, I'm only here for, how many more years, 50 more years. And I want to do it my way. And that requires me to do X, Y, and Z, and then being brave enough to actually put it into action.
Absolutely. You mentioned something a second ago that I wanted to get Janice's insight on. Eliminating sugar and alcohol. That's what one of the things that Suzanne mentioned. So obviously that kind of rolls into a bit of what you do with your clients. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts there.
Yeah. So going back to your original question is, how do we bring in this idea of spring cleaning in with your clients? And we don't even start with, okay, what is it that you're going to do? Because the people that come to me have already been struggling with their health and they've tried everything on their own. They're already trying to do all the doing stuff and that hasn't worked for them. So there's a reason why they're not able to follow through and do the things that either they think they should or that they Googled and they're like, okay, I'll try it. And then it didn't quite work. I always start with, why is it that you even want to do this in the first place? And this is like really foundational, really basic, but a lot of people don't even stop to think about, why do I want to get my health in check? Why do I want to release weight? There's a lot of messages that we've all grown up with is like, you should look this way. You should be like this. You should do it to please others as women, like to fit in. Like it's our tribal survival instinct to need to be liked and to fit in. But if you're coming from that place and that desperation and that lack, then you're just going to like become so overwhelmed in doing all of the things and then having none of them actually work out because they weren't really congruent to what you believe about yourself. And when you're forcing yourself to do something for a reason that's not even yours, you're more likely to give up because it doesn't feel like it's a value to you. So we really start with, okay, why do you want this? Why is this going to benefit you in your life? And it may have to do with, I'm going to live longer and I'm going to be able to keep up with my kids and my husband and I are going to be able to go camping, or, it could tie into other people, but essentially it has to be for yourself. So starting with, why is it that you even want this? And what is it that you want? Is it to look like Taylor Swift or Kim Kardashian, or is it to look like your best self that makes you feel, going back to how it is that you end up feeling confident, feeling strong, feeling empowered, feeling like you can do anything. And that might not look like somebody wearing a bikini on a beach. Maybe that literally looks like you want to have muscle, you want to feel power. Like, what is it for you? And then where are you in this journey? And then we can start from there. Like, do you want to go and cut out sugar and flour and all of that stuff? Some of my clients are like, yeah, I'm all in. Like, let's just do all of the most effective things. And so we look at, okay, these are the most effective things that will move the needle in terms of weight loss. Let's go ahead and do that. Other clients of mine are like, that's just too triggering. Like, there's no way I can give up this, that, or the other thing, because they're using food for an emotional need. And I really feel like, although my clients want to start with the doing, it really comes down to how are you thinking about all the things and what feels right for you. So if I say no sugar, no flour, and all of a sudden your nervous system is in fight or flight, you're not going to do it. So we have to uncover what is it that works for you, what works for your lifestyle, and keeping it as clean and simple as possible instead of just trying to get to clean the house. It's like, well, what do you even like in your house? What don't you like in your house? Like, being very intentional about all of that. I see.
Okay, so that rolls really nicely into what Diane's been dealing with in her personal life. Kind of cleaning house and Diane, the initial question. So I'd like for you to share that. But the initial question also is, how do you see this concept of spring cleaning with your clients? And it's funny because I know Diane well. I kind of know what she's going to say, which is really cool. But the thing that I love about that is Diane always says something where I go, yeah, amazing. She just always pulls that rabbit out of the hat. So no pressure, Diane.
I don't feel like I'm listening to all these amazing ladies and I'm just going to do my own thing. So as I'm listening to Suzanne and to Janice, what keeps rolling into my head is it's about perspective. And I want to back up one step, because one of my goals in life is I feel like we need to stop. We need to take the words. We need to stop defining a good choice or a bad choice. A good decision or a right decision or a wrong decision. If we just gave ourselves permission to make a decision, period, we make a choice. Granted, there are consequences, right? There are consequences if you break the law. There are consequences if you break your diet. There are consequences if you don't meet a deadline. But what if we just agreed that we're just making a choice with the information we have now at the time? And we give ourselves permission to assess and take in new information and then make a different decision later. To Janice's point, if someone wants to give up sugar first, but it's in their best interest to give up caffeine first, if they try sugar and the body rejects it, then I would imagine that Janice is an awesome enough coach that she's going to say, is there something different that we can do to affect the change that you want? Is there a different way we can look at it? And that's where perspective comes in, right? So my answer to the question of how do we generate more time for ourselves, and then how do we also tie that into letting go, is you have to shift the perspective. A coaching friend of mine gave me the Buddhist phrase that the source of all pain is attachment. So my challenge to our listeners and to my clients is, what is it you're attached to, right? Are you attached to the outcome? Are you attached to the expectation? Are you attached to someone else's expectation for you? So if you change your perspective and you don't necessarily go after, I have to get the solution or I have to get the problem fixed today, but you just say, how am I looking at it? And then if you say, how am I looking at it? Is there something that I'm holding on to? Right? Nobody will, I would imagine everybody in this room, when someone says, oh, just let go of sugar, it's fine, you can do it. How many of us really can actually do it? Cold turkey, maybe Suzanne, right? But there's an emotion piece to it, right? There's a little resistance, right? I don't think I want to. I don't think now's the time. I'll wait until after Christmas or Easter or mom's great, whatever comes in the mail. So we're attached to something in the process, whether it's the thing or whether it's the emotion. And so if we can change our perspective about the way we look at it, then we invite awareness into our soul. Then we can create options for ourselves. And if we can if we can make a choice based on the information we've generated ourselves, from the awareness we generated, from the perspective we had, you can't not have awareness. Did I get where you wanted to go, Denise?
I knew the one word that you would say, perspective. And I think that whenever we're having a conversation, and it doesn't matter what the topic is, it's so true that the perspective, how we're looking at that situation, challenge, personal development, whatever it might be, fun thing, the way we look at it is really can either make or break how you feel, how you move forward, and whether you actually move at all. You know, how often do we say, oh yeah, you know, we always say to make a decision, but no decision is a decision. It just doesn't move you forward, doesn't kind of get the cobwebs out and, you know, allow you to take that, you know, that step forward, or at least a step towards a goal.
Well, and I want to tie it into Living Healthy List real quick, because one of the amazing things about this group and about having so many experts with so many different perspectives is that collectively as a group, we all get way more knowledge. We get lots of opportunity to be exposed to things that we've never even remotely considered because we're locked into our own perspective, right? So just literally, I mean, if our listeners are listening or watching, and all you do is you stand up and if let's say you're looking at your front door and all you do is take one big step to the right, you now see your front door differently. Tying it into spring cleaning, how many of us have like looked up into a corner at 7 in the morning and you see a cobweb, and from like noon until when you go to bed, you've never noticed it for like 15 years. Like when I was moving, I'm like, whoa, how did that get there? I've never seen that, right? But now I'm looking at it from the perspective of a buyer wanting to move into my house, right? So I can guarantee you there were corners in my house that I was like, whoa, how long has that been there, right? Like I'm 5 feet tall, so anything above refrigerator height, how many times do you think I really actually cleaned off the top of my refrigerator? Well, I do when a 6-foot person comes into my house. Why? Because they're going to be looking down on it. Changing my perspective helps with my emotional energy, my physical space, my friends, my clients, like Suzanne mentioned, and even really critical relationships. Like Suzanne and Denise know that I've struggled with the relationship with my sister for a while, and changing my perspective on what I was expecting. What I realized is I'm the only one who can change me. I can't change anybody else. I can't make anybody else show up the way I want them to show up. So if I let go of my expectation of how they should be, and I just say, how do I want to be? How do I want to show up? Then I start doing the work on me. And guess what? Other people around me show up differently. That's perspective. Rather than pushing all my energy outward, I just focused my energy inward, which is what Janice mentioned and Jean mentioned, and Denise, you mentioned it, and Suzanne said, you got to have the courage to look at yourself. And it's okay if you don't like what you see, but you got to at least be willing to take that awareness in and say, how does that move me forward?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm going to use one of my health coaching clients from years ago. So my background in nutrition, health, and fitness, I think that the mindset of being an athlete has served me well, even though I had an injury and gained weight and was working too much and all of the things. I was able to tap into the mindset of an athlete. So, you know, if I'm setting a goal to lose 40 pounds by a certain date, I know exactly what that person needs to do in order to make that happen. And I immediately just made a plan, started taking action. Okay, great. I understand that a lot of people can't do that because it feels too hard, or it feels like and what I noticed with this one client in particular, she would start her cleaning journey of her food and she would go all in. And then 2 weeks in, she would give up and she was right back to her old habits. And part of her problem was she couldn't see herself as that fit. She didn't believe she was going to be successful. She couldn't see herself at the end result. And I said, what if you could see yourself as that fit person, that it's in there? And I say this to business owners all the time. If you're only making $1,000 a month in your business, you have to see yourself making 10, 20, 30. You have to be able to see it and believe you can do it before you can set the plan into place. And I think that is key. And I call it in my chapter in Denise's book, which is
Our book.
our book, sorry. I call it future casting.
I'm not
And
sure.
it works in business, it works in life, it works in relationships. So by releasing expectations of other people and only depending here, what can I do? If I know I can see myself as, if it's a number on the scale or a certain outfit or whatever the goal is, if I can see myself doing that and visualize it every day, the same with my business, same with my community. I have the goal. I want 10,000 members. I'm at 300, but I have 10,000 out there somewhere in the future, and I know I'm going to get there. And I think that is so impactful no matter what goals you're setting for yourself. If you have to pack up a whole house and move, you have to see yourself in that new location, or you're never going to pack up that stuff and move.
And to your point real quick, one of the things I saw when I was coming to Denver, and Denise, you've been here, so you know the area. I literally found myself saying, I can go biking every day. In the Pacific Northwest, it's still raining, right? And it's windy and it's cold. And my bike probably didn't come out of the garage yet 4 times last year, right? My wakeboard didn't go on the river but 4 times last year. Right across the street from a reservoir. I see myself out there. Tuesday through Thursday is my play day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when everybody else is out there, that's going to be my work day. But we literally have said we can work out more, we can ride more, we can walk more. My wife's at the gym today. We've been here for almost a whole month. She has been to the gym every single day with her brother. Wow. And I would tell you it was significantly different back in Oregon. So to your point, you have to be able to see it, because not only when you see it, but you start actually living it in your mind, then it becomes real. Then again, perspective. What I realized is when I was here in Denver for a month in September, I was hiking every day. And I realized when I was back in Oregon, I had the illusion that I was hiking. Right? I had access to hiking, but I never really, I did it, but I didn't do it as frequently as I did here. Okay. So pairing with, you have to visualize it, you have to take action. Even if it's just a small step, you have to take action to step into that vision.
Yep. Janice, I'm going to open this one up to you.
Continuing on with their question, or with the one that I see here in the chat?
No, to the one what we're continuing with this conversation.
Yeah, I have lots to say about that, especially like Suzanne seems to she nailed it right there when she was talking about creating that vision for your future self and being able to really visualize it. And then of course, embodying it, which means taking the action, right? It means actually being able to create the identity of that person. So it's great to have the vision board, like this is where I want to go. But until you can connect with, okay, that is who I am. Like I am a runner, I am a wakeboarder, I am a person, who has a healthy size. I am a person with an abundant overflow of energy. I am this person. And then this is the way I do it with my clients. And then we sort of reverse engineer a plan to get them there. And the other reason why this is so important, not only does it help to fuel the initial motivation to get you started, it's not what we need to continue on to actually achieve the thing. The way that I look at motivation is it's like a starter. It gets you started in the race, but it's not the long-term emotion that you need to tap into to get to the end. But you use that to get started. And also when you're switching your identity to become that person, that's what makes it permanent. That's what allows you to release the weight and then stay there. That allows you to make the money and then not lose it. That allows you to create that dream relationship and be able to have it and live in it and appreciate it and maintain it. When you create that identity, because that's who you are, not just, oh, I'm the kind of person who loses weight. And then what do you get when you get there? You know, I had a client that didn't do the identity work. It's like, okay, now what do I do? And they like almost get into a panic because they haven't become that person along the way, which is why it's so important to incorporate. I call it the spirituality piece. It can work in mindset as well, but it's really creating that deeper relationship with who you want to be and become it along the way. So when you get there, it's just like, of course, this is who I am. I just go biking. I just wakeboard. I go, you know, and do all these things that feel natural and right to me already because it's who I am.
So I will ask the question, like, it's kind of in my, out of the corner of my eye, because so I usually do a vision board every year. And like I said earlier, spring is kind of the time that I do that. And so kind of ask, you know, about a vision board, and you mentioned that a second ago.
Yeah.
Thoughts on, you know, additional thoughts on, you know, the vision board. You mentioned, you know, it's a springboard. Start kind of, this is where you want to start.
Yeah, going into the analogy of like we're in spring, it's planting the seed. It's like, this is what I want to create. But you also have to water that seed. You have to show up for it. You have to do the things in order for when fall comes, you harvest, and winter comes, you're actually like enjoying it. So that's just playing off that analogy. But essentially, like, I love the vision board. It's a seed planter. It's getting your mind really focused on what you have. I do one, and it's my screensaver. So every time I have to log into my computer, I see it. And there's, you know, I do mine kind of 5 years, but then I reassess sort of every year. And the first 5, like I checked everything on the box. I'm like, I did that. I mean, Disney was the only thing that flopped because it was COVID and our trip got canceled, but like it was all there. And it wasn't just like, I just looked at the pictures and then it came, right? I had to I had to do the work. I had to take the aligned action also to make it happen. But that's how I see a vision board, as a tool.
And I appreciate that you say that, because so many times people will say to me, you know, we'll do their vision board and they have these things and they do it in that one time and then they put it away, or, you know, they haven't thought it, they don't think about it on a regular basis. And it's, you know, I have this conversation very often with my sister, not necessarily about a vision board, but, you know, about, oh, everything will just work out. You know, she wants something, it'll just work out. And living in the Midwest, Connie, you know, we have a lot of people that are like, oh, it's fine, it'll just work out. But no concept of like, okay, we have to have a plan. We need to, Dianne, my 3 Ps, we need to have a plan. That's kind of the vision board, a plan. We need to prioritize that plan. You know, what are the things that I'm going to do? And then actually prepare for it, because I think, and this, I always say this when it comes to with my clients, especially with weight losses, you have to kind of prepare. And all of you have mentioned this. You kind of have to prepare to be that person, or to be to get ready to become that person you want to be, or to reach those goals.
Yeah, I say just decide you already are that person. Whether it's, you know, business success, or, you know, a certain, you know, physical goal you have for yourself. Just live as that person every day, and the results will follow. It's like this miraculous thing when you just decide to be a fit and active person again, because I've been her before. So I remember what she looks like, smells like, what she eats every day, how she prioritizes, you know, exercise or whatever. And just do that. Wake up tomorrow and live like you're already that person who makes $100,000 a month and is whatever weight you want to be, you know, like do what you do.
And that's where the work really comes in too, is like, you may have that vision of I am that person, right? And I see this in my business too. I have this vision of this is who I am, right? And I totally believe like it is inevitable, it will happen. But then I may look at my calendar and be like, I'm supposed to do this social media post, for example, but then I don't want to. And so the work really comes in. It's like, what is the obstacle or the resistance from me not doing the thing I need to do in order to become the person? So visualizing is like that one step. And then the work really comes in by clearing away all the
Oh, we lost her.
you want to do in order to become
No, you're back.
okay. Yeah, in order to become that person. And that's where the aligned action really comes in. And it usually comes in the form of the resistance. What are you avoiding? Right? Going back to what we were talking about earlier.
Social media, that's what I'm
dealing with
avoiding.
that.
Everybody knows that about me. I hate it. I'm never very good at it. So one last question from Jean. She asked, with Vision Board, creating it old school or virtually?
So I would say whatever works for you, but what I love doing, I said I have mine as my screensaver, but I also like what's called doing like a mind movie. And if you can, and I know there's a website for it too, where I actually put it, and for my kids, like, what are the 3 goals you want to create for yourself this year? And then we find images that represent those goals. And then we put some like inspiring music behind it. Because there's one thing about like you see an image or you say an affirmation, but if there's no emotion behind it, there's no spark, there's no fuel, and it falls flat. And so what I did with my kids is we created that for them. And it's like 2 minutes long or whatever the song is. And they see these images and some words over and over. And it's a repetition of them seeing it and emotionally connecting to it. And every time you have tablet time, you have to watch it at the beginning. And then when you turn it off, you have to watch it before you turn it off. So they're watching it twice, maybe it's a couple times a week, but at least for them, it's like that. And then they start playing this movie in their head and this song in their head, and it just reinforces what it is.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so I'm going to follow up with everybody. We're going to all pick a song. What's our mind movie song?
I'll just jump in real quick that I've always had the vision that I would do a vision board, and I never do because I always feel daunted and overwhelmed by having to pick the one thing that represents the thing where I want to go. I held my paper up because as we've been talking, I've been drawing what people call a mind map. And, we were talking about letting go. And so I wrote, what are we accumulating? Like, this is an example of how my brain thinks and how I would do my vision board is that I would put an idea down in the middle of a piece of paper, and then I would just start drawing lines, anything that pops into my head. Like if I want to get more fit, for example, I realize I have really nice flat sidewalks in my neighborhood. I can rollerblade, right? So my brain works in a sort of a popcorn kind of way. So going back to our, what are we letting go and we're accumulating? My first word was accumulating. My second word was soul. And then I wrote people, energy, things, expectations. And then under accumulating, I wrote other people's expectations. But on soul, I wrote my expectations. Once I put I give myself permission to just sort of splat things on a piece of paper, like you're splatter painting art. And then I pick one and I ask myself a question, which goes to Judy's question about journal prompting. I say, what do I like about this? Like, do I like this? Yes or no, right? That's where a very definitive choice can be. If the answer is no, I don't like it, my next question to myself is there something I'd like to change? So I'm not really putting up like that perfect picture of me being an athletic person, but I'm creating the pathway to maybe more to Janice's way of coaching is I'm giving myself mental steps and I'm giving myself permission that I can try one. And if it doesn't work, I can move and pivot and change my perspective and go to another. So do I like the way I'm feeling? Yes or no? If I don't like the way I'm feeling, how would I rather feel? And then what is it going to take to get there? What are some options to getting to the way I would rather feel? And ultimately, that speaks to what Suzanne and Denise and Janice said is it's more about the action of feeling and engaging self rather than the action of doing. Doing comes at the end. Good
point. And this is such a great conversation. I hate to have to wrap up, but we have just a few more minutes. What I'd like for each of our panelists, if you would put your contact information in the chat, and then for our guests, make sure you save the chat. I'll make sure you get that information anyway. But if you'd like to talk with Janice or Dianne or Suzanne offline, you'll have their contact information. Let's see. So Meaningful Conversations is a monthly event. It's the second Tuesday of every month. So we'll be here again May 9th, Tuesday, May 9th. So please put it on your calendar. Participate, tell your friends to participate, because truly it is about a conversation. We learn so much from each other. you know, I've known Suzanne and Dianne for quite some time. So I know them, they know me, but they teach me something every single time we chat. And I think that's the beauty of, you know, conversation and the beauty of connection. And I hope in, you know, 2023 that, you know, connection is something that we all find important and something that really feeds our soul. So let's see, we got 12:59. So the last thing I guess I'm going to leave you with, I do have a gift for everyone. It's something that I started a bunch of years ago. It's called 5 Dinners in an Hour. Most of you who know me, my background is food. I started cooking when I was 11 and realized that, you know, to bring people around the table, healthy food brings people around the table. So I just like to share with you my my program PDF of something that really can help you just make healthy food. One time, it takes an hour. You can make 5 dinners, and you know you'll have that healthy meal for your family all week long. So I'm going to put that in the chat, the link in the chat, and there it goes. And again, I'll make sure that everybody gets a chance to get that on an email. You can also find the recording on the Living Healthy List YouTube channel. We are there under Meaningful Conversations. And anytime you have any questions, thoughts, you know, topics that you want to chat about, just shoot me an email at support@livinghealthylist.com. Hold on if I can spell, type. And I would like to thank Suzanne and Dianne and Janice for being with us. Thank you for your insights. Any last hurrah before we end?
I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. This was a really fun experience. To go back to Diane's word of perspective, seeing everyone's perspective on the same topic was really, I would say, encouraging and inspiring to look at things in a different way, or be able to piggyback or pick up on something and add and expand to it. So thank you all for making me feel welcome.
Absolutely, and we're happy to have you.
Great conversation.
Yeah, welcome, and thank you, Denise. I feel the same way about you, and just feel lucky that I get to have these conversations with you. So thanks.
All righty. Well, thanks, everyone. We will see you next month, May 9th, 12 p.m. Central Time. Until then, I leave you with this: healthy living for a happy life. Thanks, everyone.